Hello, I am Anna Imagination, creator of Operation Imagination, the 12-week program that took me from being a 20-year shut-in to being a flourishing extrovert. I am going to talk today about the truth about our emotions. This is a video that I'm very, very excited about, very passionate about. It's something that I love talking about. Every time I get on this topic, it's absolutely one of my favorite things to talk about. Emotions in our society get a really bad rap. I don't know, I do know, but I'm not going to get into the history of why emotions in America is treated so poorly. So what I want to focus on, really, and stay on topic, is what our emotions do, why we have them, what they're there for, and how they tie into a lot of how we handle them and our attitude towards emotions. So this is the situation. Whenever we have a bad emotion, especially when we're children, what ends up happening is, crying is a great example. Crying is a prime example of this. You have a child who's crying and our parents come along and say, "Why are you crying? Stop that." And right away that teaches us that that particular emotion isn't good for us. And we very much have an attitude like emotions are good and bad, and that's the problem. So I'm going to kind of translate this for you in a different way. This is how I explain it to everybody who works with me, all of my clients. This is what I do. So emotions are exactly like pain sensors. The only difference is the pain sensors, pain or nerve sensors, are in our body, and they communicate from our physical body to our brain to say, hey, there's a problem, or this is enjoyable. Emotions do the same thing, and this is important. Emotions do the same thing, but for our subconscious and our psyche. So I want you to start thinking about, for just a moment, we're going to talk about how sensations, bodily sensations work. We have several kinds of body sensations. We have hot and cold. We have warmth and ice cream chill. We have stubbing the toe kind of pain, broken arm kind of pain, and then we have sex. So you can see when you think of bodily sensations on this full spectrum, this is just data that our body collects and communicates messages to our brain to say, hey, this is a problem. There's pain. You need to take attention to this. You need to look at this and resolve this. Or it's, ooh, this is good, or ooh, this is bad. When we bite into ice cream and we taste the wonderful flavor, we have we have sensations all over our body that communicates a lot of messages. If it's a flavor we enjoy, we get pleasure sensors going off saying, hey, that tastes good. And if we eat too much of it, we have pain sensors telling us, oh, you ate too much ice cream. And when we throw up, we have discomfort sensors in our body saying, well, that was unpleasant, let's not do that again. And when we feel hungry, we have sensations, bodily sensations that communicate, hey, this needs attention. Our entire body is working around the clock constantly to communicate to our brain, hey, this is what you need, this is what you want, this is what you enjoy. This is bodily sensations. And we constantly receive these messages constantly every time we wake up, from the moment we are conscious to the moment we are sleeping. It's curious if we experience these sensations during a dream or a nightmare. I think we do, but it has to be certain circumstances. I'll have to look into that. But so I'm going to say for now, in our conscious mind, when we are awake, we are constantly receiving data. And these sensations are not labeled as good or bad. They are just bodily sensations. Now, let's flip everything over to emotions. Emotions are the exact same thing. They are sensing and messages constantly flaring off from a stimulus to our subconscious and our psyche, well, to our conscious mind saying, hey, your psyche is receiving damage, or hey, your psyche enjoys that, or hey, your psyche is experiencing this sensation. And it's messages. Emotions are messages about our psyche telling us if what we need to do. That's it. That's all that emotions are. So the problem is emotions basically are the messenger that everyone keeps shooting over and over and over. It's like I just broke my finger. Now it's going to hurt enough that I know to wrap it and go to a doctor. You know this. We know this. Oh, I need medical attention. I have a scar on my thumb because I sliced on Christmas Day, no doubt. I sliced a glass sliced my thumb open right down to the bone. Now there was no pain, but I felt a sensation so that I looked like, oh, what's that? And I saw the blood. I saw the bone. I knew enough to grab a very dirty kitchen towel. Oh yeah, and apply pressure, and I held it there. And there was no pain. Oh, not yet. But I just held it there. And my body immediately went to work to communicate all these sensations to me to say, hey, you need to look at this. And I went to the bathroom. I took off the towel for 2 seconds, and I saw the blood come right back. And no doubt, hospital now. There was nothing in my brain to say, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Oh, this is unpleasant. I'm going to just ignore this because this is unpleasant. So I'm just going to put a Band-Aid on it and continue watching the Christmas movie or do the dishes. No, I got to a doctor and I got stitches. The point is, we don't treat emotions with the same fairness as we treat bodily sensations. Emotions are immediately, as soon as they show up, if they're pleasant, we're happy. If they're not pleasant, we immediately shoot them down where they stand, label them as being bad, and we shoot the messenger and bury the carcass in the backyard as evidence that this is what happens when you have an emotion. And a lot of us received this message way too aggressively and way too many times. It is a very rare person who was raised in a situation where they were allowed to experience their full spectrum of emotions in a healthy setting and in such a way that they were able to actually comprehend the messages that were being read to them. So, as somebody who dissociated for a very long time, dissociation is the process that everyone practices when you shut down your emotions. In fact, you're doing it right now when you're watching this video. This is a form of dissociation because right now you are not tapped into your emotions. You are listening to me and absorbing my energy. And as a result, you're not tuned into your present state right now. This is zoning out or daydreaming or getting caught up in a YouTube video, or getting caught up in a book you're reading. This is all dissociation. It's when we dissociate from our emotions, when we set our emotions aside to focus in on something. And the problem is, a few of us, more common than not, caught on to how effective this is when it comes to self-preservation. It really kicked in when several of us caught on that this is really good at escaping trauma. There are 4 levels of dissociation. Dissociation is the one you're doing right now watching this YouTube video. It's the one that has you disconnected because you can't pay attention to your emotions while you're paying attention to other things like a book. A great example of this is any movie or anytime you watch a movie and you get caught up in the emotions of what's happening on the screen or in a book, and you start to feel what the actor is feeling. You cry over empathy and you tag in. Those are not your actual emotions. Those are emotions transferred onto another person. That's empathy, which is good for you. Great, you need that emotion. However, they're not your core current emotions. You could be sitting in the comfort of a living room, but those aren't the emotions you're tuned into. You're tuned into the situation on the television screen or a book. And That is the form of dissociation. The fourth level of dissociation is dissociative identity disorder, which is where multiple personality comes into play. That's where I was. So you have stages and levels, and there's nothing wrong with dissociation so long as you know what it is and you don't use it as a means to escape, which a lot of people do, without being aware that that is what they are doing. So this is about awareness and just being mindful of, hey, am I using emotions, and other media means to escape a situation rather than being in the present? And that's the problem. So emotions really are just messages. They are psyche sensations, literally mind sensations, communicating to you, hey, your psyche is suffering damage, you need to do something about it. Or, this is a really pleasant thing, let's do something about it, let's nurture that. And once you learn through emotional management how to properly read and interpret emotions, you can start using them. I'm going to say that again because it's so important. Once you realize what emotions are and how to read them, you can start using them, because they are just bodily sensations, mental sensations, communicating to you what you need to do, what feels good, what needs to change. And if something doesn't feel good, if something feels uncomfortable or it hurts, it's because your id, fancy words now, your id is communicating to you, hey, this is hurting your psyche. You need to do something to protect your psyche. And if you don't, the pain will get worse and continue. Once that pain continues to certain levels, that's when numbness and another level of dissociation begins, where you start to shut down and you stop feeling things, because dissociation has set in that deeply, because you have ignored the message from your id saying, hey, there's a problem here and you need to fix it. That is what emotions are for, and that is what they do. So part of my program with Operation Imagination is I teach people how to identify emotions, how to properly have a healthy relationship with your emotions. And this is the scary part. This is the part of the program where people hear this and they get terrified, because there's pain in those emotions. And there is shadow work that hasn't been done in those emotions. And that is some really scary, deep stuff to handle. Trust me. I know. I've been there and I've done it. But this is where, in another video, I talk about, if you're not doing self-improvement, you're declining. And the only way out is through. So I will be going over emotional management, how to start getting a healthier attitude toward your emotions. More importantly, or I'm going to say just as importantly, also how to make sure that you are not stepping on or coming down on another person's emotions, because it's how we interact emotionally with other people that really gets to become the problem if it's not handled properly. So we're going to go over emotional management more. This is going to be a reoccurring theme. And then the other thing that I love to talk about is self-care regimens. Those are so much fun to me. I love self-care regimen. So thank you so much for listening. My website is www.angelabchrysler.com. Please share, like, love, support, and subscribe to this video. Follow my channel. And if you know anyone who could use this, please share away. I have a COVID-induced anxiety program where I help people recover from the COVID anxiety that came up over the last 2 years. And I'm also offering my program, Operation Imagination. That is also for sale. More information is available. All of my contact links are below, and I have a newsletter. Please subscribe to that also. And again, thank you so much for listening. May the kindest of words always find you.